during its era, when AIDS was at the worst fear.
Yeah.
A person would be tempted to believe they might have a year or two to live.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That was because of that French-Canadian airline flight attendant.
He was infecting people?
Yeah, he lived for sex, and he was in San Francisco one night, and he'd have different kinds of sex with gays. He would head straight for the gay bars, and then the next night he'd be in some other city, and that's all he lived for was.
And supposedly he was infecting people, and then they would die?
Yeah, well, I don't know whether he was on drugs. All of them weren't on drugs, but his partner was probably on drugs, and it was killing him.
They were saying it was due to the fact that he gave them the virus.
Yeah, this virus.
And the virus ate him up within a year or two.
Right. So they said he had a virulent strain of the virus. Incidentally, this summer, my brother-in-law, Connecticut, was in Michigan, and I was talking to him. He's aware of my activities in this field, and he said 3 of his friends died of HIV. And he doesn't like homosexuals, I can tell you that. So I knew these weren't 3 homosexual friends. And I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, they were all IV drug users. They were all on crack cocaine. But they didn't die from overdosage of cocaine. They died from this virus.
So he believes?
Yeah, because I don't think he does anymore. They were all injection drug users.
But those drugs can so weaken your immune system.
Well, I don't know about their deaths. Yeah, the drugs can weaken your immune system, but a lot of people die of an overdose of drugs. Just one shot. Who was that, John Belushi?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a nephew that died of an overdose of crack.
Really? A nephew?
Mm-hmm. In Florida. Yeah.
Wow.
The story was that his buddy said, hey, let's go to this party. And I don't think my nephew had ever met this person who was having the party. So they went there, and they were passing out crack cocaine. And I'm not sure whether he injected or how he got it. But he and another kid both died on the spot. Yeah.
Right? Kind of suddenly?
Within a half hour, yeah.
They took too much?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I asked my brother from California if he had found out any more about it, and he said, well, the theory was that this was some crack that was not properly labeled.
It was laced with strychnine or something?
Whatever, yeah. But, yeah.
Well, let's look at the world scene. They say 70% of the AIDS victims are in sub-Sahara Africa.
Right.
And we're giving them. We've already spent $140 billion as a nation,
yeah.
Government. Besides, that's other than you have the private group spending money.
Well, I don't know who spent that 140 billion. That was the last figure I saw.
Oh, it could be both private and public, private and government.
It could be.
Well, but it's America.
I think it's mostly government spending.
Yeah, so it's America.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of our money is going to go to Africa, right? We're going to try to help them. I mean, Tommy Thompson is from my state, and he's the head of the Health and Services, and they have 23% of our budget. That's over $500 billion. And a lot of it, he goes to Africa quite a bit, and they're trying to help the AIDS crisis over there.
Yeah.
But you said earlier, I was talking to you, that there's 42 diseases that can, if you have one of those diseases, it can cause you to test positive.
Yes, right.
And so in Africa, they only take, and here, like for example, you said they'll take 2 tests. And 85% of that first test is proven to be
False positive.
a false positive.
Yeah,
So
and it's not because of the manufacturing problems or human error where the person doing the laboratory work doesn't know what he's doing. That's not the case at all. It's because those tests, you can test HIV positive one day and HIV negative the next day.
Okay.
That's possible.
So they need at least 2 tests to help verify if you really have,
Yeah.
and all it is really is one of those 42 diseases anyway.
Yeah.
But in Africa, they only take the test once.
And they use a screening test, which is wrong
The worst.
85% of the
It's
time.
wrong 85% of the time. So in
this
Africa,
country.
they give them a screening test,
One screening test.
which 85% of the time is wrong.
Yeah.
And so now they claim millions upon millions of people in Africa, sub-Sahara, have AIDS.
Right.
What do you believe they really have?
They've got all the old diseases that they've always had due to unclean water supplies, bad sanitation, if they have any sanitation at all, out in the tribal areas, bad medical care. There's still, as far as I know, there's still a lot of measles in Africa. It's been practically eradicated in this country, but not in Africa because there's not enough money available to immunize these kids. And measles can make you test false positive on the HIV test.
Malaria, tuberculosis,
Tuberculosis.
42 different diseases.
Yeah. Bad nutrition, the nutrition is probably the major thing.
Can cause you to test positive.
And they're telling these women not to breast, if the woman is HIV positive or suspected to be, they tell them don't breastfeed your children. Use our formula because you might transmit HIV.
And you're convinced that you're positive that's absolutely not true.
Yeah, I want to see the proof. I want to see the electron microscope pictures of crystallized HIV.
Now, what's the reason, if you just say what you've said, and you say that at a big AIDS meeting, they will almost grow horns out of their head with, the devil's pitchfork will come out.
Actually, this has happened. It happened at one of those international AIDS conferences in Europe. I think in Barcelona or Athens, I forget. The people who control all this stuff tried to get people kicked out of the meetings. They'll do anything to try and stop you from speaking. They've used every trick that they can to stop people from raising these questions.